we've finally made it to the last video in the DAX section of this course. To wrap up this section, we're going to write a few more DAX measures and explore a new tool called Quick Measures, which will use a user interface to help us create calculations without writing any of the expression. So let's go ahead and open our Power BI desktop file and get started. So I have in front of me our Power BI desktop file. As a reminder of what we did in our last video, we come up here to the DAX measures window and open it up. We can see the 3 calculations that we've already written. Now, if I open up my sales table as well, you'll see that there are still a bunch of columns left that we haven't written a DAX calculation against. Now, I'm going to go ahead and create some DAX measures against the remaining columns that we see here, all of the ones with the sigma symbol in front of it. And the goal being, once we're done with that, we're going to aim towards writing a DAX measure for net profit. Now, each one of these calculations is going to be just the same as the one for total sales. As a reminder, coming up to looking at the total sales at the top here, it's a simple sum of that column. So I'm going to kind of fast forward and run through all of those other column creations quickly, because they're all just going to be a simple sum of. And as a reminder, when you want to create a new calculation, come up to the table you want to add it to, or in our case, our DAX measures folder, and right-click and select New Measure. There we are. I've gone ahead and created a calculation for each one of those columns from the sales table and added a DAX measure for it in the measures table at the top. And as another reminder, whenever we've created a DAX calculation, we can go ahead and hide that original column, because for the most part, we won't need to use it in our report. And to do that, you can right-click on any of the columns and select Hide, which will not delete it, but it will hide it from this report view. Perfect. Now you might have noticed there's 2 columns with a sigma symbol in front of it that is still left showing or visible on my sales table. Now these are unit cost and unit price. Now actually, if we take a look at our products master table, these exist here as well. So they're actually duplicate columns. So we don't really need them on our sales table because they can already be accessed using the relationship of product key to our products master table. So we can go ahead and delete these, which will actually save us a little bit of file size on our Power BI report. Perfect. They've both now been removed from my sales table. Now to take this one step even further, I want to organize my measures a little bit and create a grouped calculation, because my goal is to create something for net profit. And really, net profit is going to be split into 2 components that I will want to create for this report. Whatever my sales amount was, and then whatever my total expenses are. There's a couple of these in here that really would be grouped under expenses, and that would be the discount amount, the return amount, and the total cost. All 3 of these are things that we would want to subtract from our total sales amount to get our net profit. So I would like to create a single DAX calculation that is just called total expenses. So let's do that first. I'm going to right-click DAX measures again. I'm going to select New Measure. Kind of come up here to the formula bar, and I'm going to type in total expenses equals, and just like we did with the divide function when we created average order amount, I can also reference calculations in here using that square bracket. And I'm going to start with discount amount, and that's going to be plus the return amount and also the total cost. So all 3 of these together equates to my total expenses. And hit enter. And as a friendly reminder, don't forget to set the formatting under the modeling tab up here when you're done, because this is still currency. Set that to general and get rid of those decimal places. Perfect. And just for good measure, I'm going to go ahead and add this to my table here. Right next to total sales. There we are. There's my expenses. Make that a little bit bigger. Now, the last thing that I want to review with you is a great feature called Quick Measures that, as I mentioned, uses a UI or user interface to help write the formulas for you. So let's come up here to our DAX measures table and select New Quick Measure, 3rd down on the list. It's going to open up this window where we have an option with a pick list for calculation. And there's a whole lot of great things in here organized by category of type of transformation, but I don't want to cover all of them. I just want to start really simple and do a simple comparison to show us what this can do. So I'm going to come down and I'm going to select subtraction, mathematical operations right here. And what this will do is this will let me compare 2 calculations. And we can actually drag our DAX measures in here, and then it will write the formula for us. So I'm going to open up my DAX measures window, and I'm going to say total sales is my base value, and our value to subtract is going to be my total expenses. And that's another reason that I also created expenses first, is you can actually only compare 2 values in here. In a future update, it would be great if they let you compare 3 or more, but for now, it's just a comparison of 2. If you want to compare 3 or more, you would write the custom formula like we did when we created total expenses. And they also have this little button down here at the bottom that says post an idea, just in case you have any cool thoughts or ideas. These are all user submitted by the community, so this list will constantly change and update with every monthly update for Power BI. All right, I'm going to go ahead and select OK. And if you come take a look over here on the right, you'll see that it created a calculation called total sales minus total expenses. And if we take a look up at the top, it created that calculation automatically for us. Now, the actual name itself isn't something we want to use. We want to call this net profit instead. So I'm going to go ahead and update that. Perfect. And last but not least, I'm going to add that to my table right next to expenses so we can see the calculation. For any of them, like audio, camcorders, etc., our base number for sales, whatever our expenses are, and then there's that final remaining profit margin. All right, that about wraps it up for this section. We are going to explore a bit more with DAX once we get into the report design and start talking about year-over-year calculations and other time intelligence functionality, and also conversations around date tables. But that will come in our next section where we start exploring data visualization practices, reporting techniques, and we start building out our report.